Old news? Old news? What is old news? You see old news? I see ripe news. I see news that is extra ready to be talked about. You know, and if you want a more thematic analogy, you see rotten bananas, I see banana bread. So last week, maybe even the week before, I don't remember. So there's a rumor I'd love to talk about, and it is a rumor about a potential Donkey Kong movie. Ooh, lovely, topical. Donkey Kong is the flavor of the minute at the moment, so this was perfect timing. But it seems that someone has spotted a new copyright filing. The filing itself does not contain a whole lot of information, but the title of this filing is Untitled Donkey Kong Project Motion Picture. And we know that it was filed by two parties, party one being Nintendo Studios LLC, and party two being Universal Pictures, a division of Universal City Studios LLC. Universal City Studios? Was that like the original name and then they shortened it to Universal Studios? I don't know. But yeah, that's really it. That is all that we have. As always, we must point out that a copyright filing or a patent filing or whatever does not necessarily always lead to a thing. Sometimes companies just want to, I don't know, be safe or like secure a filing just in case they want to do something in the future. And I also never really understand why only sometimes we see these filings publicly, and that leads us to discover the existence of a project before it has actually been revealed. Why does that not happen for every single secret project? If it's an option to not do this and file publicly, then why would you? Why does it only happen sometimes? I really never really understand how any of this works. But basically, it does seem to be true that Nintendo filed a copyright thingy for Untitled Donkey Kong Project Motion Picture. So yeah, you hear motion picture, you think movies. I mean, I think technically that could mean show. Possibly. That is still a picture in motion. It's very funny that we still, just the word, the term motion picture. We've heard it so much. It's so normalized, but like, you know, it really does just mean pictures that move on a screen. It's very funny we still call it that. Anyway, so let's focus on the movie idea first. You know, the idea of a Donkey Kong movie is not weird. You know, we've all talked about it before. Like, you know, you got Mario, and then of course Zelda. So like, we're getting a second Mario movie, and we're getting a Zelda movie. The next Mario movie is going to be next April, and then the following year in May we get Zelda, assuming nothing gets delayed. That is exciting, by the way. That is very, very soon. Before we know it, we're going to have a new Mario movie, and then a Zelda movie right after that, the next year. So that is very cool. So Mario and Zelda makes a lot of sense. Within the Mario sphere, a DK movie really was the most likely next thing to happen. You know, outside of regular old quote-unquote mainline Mario movies, if there was any possible spin-off that could come from the Mario movies, it was gonna be DK, because it's Mario is Mario, and then next in line is DK. They're both the most recognizable Nintendo characters outside of the whole, like, Pokemon thing. You know, Mario, Link, DK, the originals. Enough people grew up playing the arcade games and whatnot that, like, yeah, out of all of the different spin-offs you could potentially do with Mario, DK is the one that made the most sense. Down the line, if they're able to, like, really hit it off with a lot of these movies and expand a lot of these characters, then you could potentially see them dipping into, you know, Luigi's Mansion, maybe, or like Peach getting her own movie or something. I did a whole entire video talking about like a hypothetical timeline release of all of the movies they could potentially do. But like, for starters, to start with the spin-offs, DK makes the most sense. It's the least risky. It is still such an iconic character, the most likely to get people to come to the theater and watch the movie. So If they are making a Donkey Kong movie, it certainly would not surprise me. The only slightly surprising thing would be the timing. It's a little hard for me to believe that they would want to work on so many movies at one time. Like, I'm almost surprised that they're doing a Mario movie and a Zelda movie at the same time, and that's probably only happening because one is animated and one is live action. They're working with different studios, so that, you know, kind of makes sense. I mean, even then, the creative talent is now split. You know, Miyamoto was so closely involved in the Mario movie, so he's probably very involved in the Zelda movie too, so I don't know if that means he's kind of passed off the second Mario movie to other people. Maybe he's just kind of working on both, juggling them. Maybe he's just kind of supervising the Mario movie. I don't know, but like, DK movie as well? I mean, as much as the greedy fan inside of me loves the idea of Nintendo just greenlighting all of these movies, you know, just like, fine, give us a whole Mario cinematic universe, make 10 movies at once. I don't, just gimme. As much as I kind of like that idea, it's just not really Nintendo's style. They're so careful about this stuff. So careful. It took them so long to do that first Mario movie in the first place. So it's a little hard to believe that all of a sudden they would be okay juggling all of these different things. Generally, they like to take things real nice and slow, be really, really careful, really focus on what they're doing. And, you know, animated movies generally take about like 3 years. That's what I've heard from people in, you know, in interviews and stuff. They're like, generally speaking, it's about 3 years to make an animated movie from start to finish. And that certainly lines up, you know, the second Mario movie coming in 2026. Yeah, makes sense. So yeah, I don't know if I see them working on 2 animated movies at one time. It is possible that this is just them filing this so that they can kind of get started working on it a little bit, or at least just kind of preparing so that when the second Mario movie is done, then they can launch right into DK, and we maybe see the DK movie in 2029. I could see that, you know, and I, you know, if they really wanted to be smart about the timing, then they would at least have a small team right now working on DK, working on stories and concepts and all that, just kind of like just lining up. You know, you could even be doing like storyboarding and stuff. I don't know how much they'd be comfortable doing. That still does take a lot of creative focus to kind of get that ball rolling. But I don't know. Yeah, it is possible they're just kind of getting ahead. I mean, the next Mario movie is due in less than a year. So yeah, it seems perfectly reasonable to imagine that we would get a Mario movie and then a second Mario movie. Rumor has it it's going to be called Super Mario World, so you're blowing it up kind of bigger. And then after that, you go spin-off. You go DK spin-off. Going to have a lot of the same characters, so that it makes perfect sense. I think that's basically the perfect way to do it. If they're not willing to do multiple animated movies at once, then yeah, I mean, like I couldn't have planned it better myself. 2 Mario movies followed by a DK spin-off, and then you see where we are. You know, you kind of like, at that point, how much money have these movies been making? Did the DK spin-off do as well as we wanted? Can we look at other spin-offs? Can we look at a third Mario movie? You kind of go from there. But then at least briefly, to come back to the idea of a DK show, that if that's on the cards here, if motion picture could also just mean a show, then like, there you go. I am, you know, waiting for Nintendo to do more shows. I am still waiting. I'm looking at all these other companies with all their series, getting all these like Netflix shows and whatnot, and just kind of waiting for Nintendo to do one. Or you know, rather another DK show. DK did get a show back in the day, but maybe something a little bit more modern, something a bit more akin to like what's going on in the games. I don't know. They could even kind of base it a little bit on DK Bonanza, like have Pauline in there or something. I don't know. That'd be cool. I'd be totally down for that. But yeah, I don't know. Either that, or they just make it. I mean, I suppose more realistically, it would be in like the movie universe. It would be. I mean, they probably wouldn't get Seth Rogen for a show. They always like get cheaper actors for shows. But I could see it still being set in the same universe, the same cast of characters and whatnot. That could also be a thing. And if that was a thing, then they could do all of this at once. You know, obviously they'd have a completely different team working on the show. It would be a much smaller production. So yeah, that could be a thing too. Or, as always, this could be nothing at all. We get no DK-related motion picture whatsoever anytime soon. Who knows? Personally speaking, I do like the idea of motion picture DK content. However, I'm not a really big fan of Seth Rogen's depiction of DK. It works for the movie. That's the thing. It like the movie versions of the characters are really their own things, kind of disconnected from the games. Seth Rogen played a version of DK that is not the DK quite that I know. You know, he was a little bit more like macho and show off in a more mean-spirited way, whereas DK is like a big stupid gorilla, but like, I don't know, he's always seemed kind and respectful for the most part. I don't know. I guess I just don't know how entertaining I would find that, you know, seeing that depiction kind of blown up a lot more. I don't know how entertaining I don't know how much I would enjoy watching that for a long period of time. But at the same time, I don't know how you adapt the DK personality as it is in the games. I don't know. I mean, it was always the issue with the Mario movies. Just how do you take these non-talking characters and turn them into talking characters? What do you do with that? And I can't even say I know what angle I would like for DK. I think I do just want him to be a little bit more friendly. He feels friendly. You know, I'm playing DK Bonanza, and like he's a friendly guy. He's fun. You know, he's got this like warm, cuddly kind of feel about him. Seth Rogen DK does not feel warm and cuddly, so yeah, I really don't know. So it would be nice to have a different kind of depiction, but yeah, it really does seem most likely that they would go with the movie personification. Why would they not? You know, why would they not want to have consistent representation of these characters across their motion picture projects? Yeah, I don't know. Overall, pretty exciting though. We may get a DK movie in a couple years. Would be cool.